Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome to our webinar today. We're really pleased that you could join us to talk about Southeast Asia, about websites, online marketing, e-commerce, your buyer personas. What are they like in Southeast Asia? There's a lot of interest these days in the sort of Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia. So it's been a great response from you all. Thank you very much. Before we get started, I think we're just going to introduce ourselves. That'll be the right thing to do. So my name is Susanna Hardy. I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online, and I'm delighted today to be joined by two fantastic colleagues. Joelle Lazzarotto, who many of you already know, heads up our marketing team and is just an amazing team leader for us to have with, share some of her knowledge on the online marketing side. And Hemisha Shah is a senior online marketing manager at IBT Online, and I'm delighted that Hemisha is with us today. Hemisha is going to talk to us and give us a sort of a big picture landscape view of Southeast Asia online, what it all looks like. And please drop in questions. This is a webinar. We're all tired of webinars, but let's make it friendly, impactful, enjoyable, as well as really factful and practical for you. Just saying quickly who we are as a company. IBT Online is a US company. We're a private company, and we are 100% focused on online solutions for companies who are looking to grow their businesses. We're known for our online programs and our international focus. We do a lot of international websites, international online marketing, and these online global programs that we've developed to help exporters reach their target markets anywhere in the world. And we've developed these in several US states as well as in Canada, and let us know if you want to learn more about them. Some of the states and provinces also have grants available for these programs, which is always a good thing. So today, we're going to start off with sort of a big picture view of Southeast Asia online environment. So we're not economists, so we're not going to be talking about GDP and things like that. We're really going to be looking at the online world. What does it all look like from a digital perspective? Then we're going to talk directly about the websites themselves in Southeast Asia. What are their big characteristics? What defines them? What makes a good website in these markets? And then Joelle's going to talk a bit about the online marketing world in Southeast Asia. What are the platforms? How do you use it? Where do you go? What is a buyer persona there? And then I'm going to start back just briefly a little bit about e-commerce, because it's a very fast e-commerce developing area, both B2C and B2B, growing still very strong double digits growth in almost all the markets. And then at the end, just sort of takeaways, next steps, some time also for Q&A. We really encourage you, drop your questions into the chat box, and we'll get around to them at the end. We've saved time for that. We'd love to hear more about what your concerns are and anything we can do to help. We're here to, this is your occasion. This is a moment for you that you've carved out of your day, and we really appreciate that you've taken the time for us. But it's a moment also for you to say, right, that's always puzzled me about Southeast Asia. Maybe these guys can help. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Hemisha if she can talk a little bit about Southeast Asia online environment for us all. Hemisha.
Absolutely. Thank you, Susanna. Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. So let's dive right in and start with a big picture view of Southeast Asia from an online point of view. So there are a couple of characteristics that we think that are worth highlighting for anyone looking to set up websites or online marketing. First of all, Southeast Asia is big, not just geographically spread out over 11 countries, but also in terms of population, which is a whopping 675 million. That's more than double the population of the USA. We also wanted to highlight how culturally varied the region is. And you can see this reflected in the number of the languages spoken, which is over 1,000. But the good news is that Southeast Asia is really plugged in. On an average, 70% have access to the internet, and they also use it. From an online perspective, this is really dynamic and rewarding for companies to use websites and marketing to grow their sales. One of the first things about Southeast Asia that you need to know is how mobile focused it is. Southeast Asia is world leading in mobile connections. There are over 887 million mobile connections in this region, which is 132% of the total population. A lot of the work we do in this region starts from a mobile perspective, and we'll see this repeated when we look at some of the individual countries. Now, this is a chart that shows the average time spent on the internet every day. The worldwide average, at the white bar of the chart, is 6 hours and 37 minutes. Yes, the vast majority of the world's population is spending nearly 7 hours a day online. But in Southeast Asia, it's even longer. The Philippines takes the top spot, spending more than 9 hours online. Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand all fall within the top 12 worldwide countries with close to 8 hours a day on social media. This is helped by good internet speed levels in many parts of Southeast Asia. Thailand being at 308.34 Mbps and Singapore at 245.31 Mbps are the top 2 countries for download speed, compared to the worldwide average of just 96.43 Mbps. Governments across most of Southeast Asia have really understood that the internet is a tool that can lift their population. And we'll see this in the coming slides, that their population has really responded well to this. We thought it would be helpful to take a quick look at some of the key countries. Starting here with Indonesia, which has the largest population in Southeast Asia at 267 million. We've listed here on the left some of the key characteristics of Indonesia that are important when you think of the online environment. The fact that a quarter of the population is under 18 helps explain why there are early adopters of technology. As you can see in the diagram, there are more mobile phone connections than people. This is something we are going to see throughout Southeast Asia. And while 77% of the population are online, 60% of them are active social media users. We already noted that they spend nearly 8 hours a day online. Over 3 hours of that is on social media. We also wanted to highlight just one feature to show how innovative Indonesian internet can be. So in Indonesia, just 50% of the population have a bank account, but majority of the internet users shop online. And many of them, roughly about 39%, have mobile wallets as well. When we look at Thailand, we see a similar picture. Again, a so-called mobile-first market. It is a bit more mature than Indonesia, but again, more mobile phones than people, and with really good internet access across the country. 85% of the population are online, and 73% of them use social media. The Thais spend a lot of time online, on an average 8 hours a day, of which 2.5 again on social media. This reflects here again how they are early adopters and tech happy. Quick also fun fact, 25% of them own a smartwatch. Similar to Indonesia, there is a good uptake of online wallets, notably for e-commerce. And in general, e-commerce is growing well throughout Southeast Asia. There are some notable local champions such as Lazda, but we also wanted to highlight how much Thais resort to the internet to discover or check out brands. Almost 50% of internet users, that is nearly 40% of the population, go online to research brands before buying. Now, Singapore is a bit of an exception with just 6 million people, and pretty well every single one of them is online and is using social media. It is a more sophisticated online environment with fast 4G internet speeds, moving to 5G soon. In Singapore, a third of homes have smart home devices, considerably a higher number than the total average of the USA. But we thought it would be helpful to single out Singapore, as many exporters use this country as a first step into the Southeast Asian market. And indeed, it is a great place to start building your online presence with websites and online marketing. Now moving on to Vietnam. This is also a market that we're seeing more and more interest in from our clients, particularly as many exporters spread their supply chain risks and seek out other manufacturing bases. Vietnam is again a real mobile-first market. It is amazing to see that with just 40% of the population living in cities, yet nearly 80% of the population are online and are using social media. In a way, Vietnam epitomizes the online environment of Southeast Asia, obviously being mobile first and highly connected, but also having early tech adopters. Irrespective of Vietnam not being a very rich country, 33% own a smartwatch, they spend an hour a day gaming, and 9% have a virtual reality headset. So you can see the choices being made that clearly favor the use of internet. And now to summarize, Southeast Asia online environment is definitely mobile first. The big majority of the populations are online for many hours a day and are actively using social media. E-commerce is developing, and we'll circle back to that later, including strong local champions. But most importantly, we want to emphasize that internet users in Southeast Asia are sophisticated and they use and like technology. They check out your website and your online presence and appreciate when they can find your company online. That is all from me, and now I'd like to hand it back over to Susanna.
Hemisha, thank you very much for that global picture of Southeast Asia, sort of quick rundown. And I've already got some questions in. Thank you very much. We will respond to those afterwards. And just to say, a couple of people already asking, yes, you will get a recording of this and the slide deck. I know that Hemisha gave a lot of information in that first section. You do get a recording of this in your inbox probably tomorrow. So Hemisha's first takeaway, how about that? Your first takeaway from Hemisha is basically that Southeast Asia is very plugged in. It's online, 70, 80, 90% of the population online, using their websites, using their browsers, using their mobile phones, most of all, to access it. And you know, that's good news for exporters. You know how to reach, and you know where your Southeast Asian prospects and clients are. They're all online. You can reach them online. So that's the good news of this. Now, before we dive into the sort of website details, I would like to have a quick poll and just ask y'all if you are already doing business in Southeast Asia. Sort of, are you in Southeast Asia via distributors or agents? Are you online only? Are you still thinking about it? Do you have an online and local distributors? What sort of the makeup is it? And thank you very much for being very responsive on this. I appreciate that. Pretty well all of you have voted. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, just to give you some feedback, roughly half of you are already in Southeast Asia with a local partner only. Very few of you, almost none of you are online only. So that's interesting. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. One or two more polls. I'm going to close this poll now. There we go. And let's now dive in and talk about the actual websites, what kind of websites there are, and how you can have good websites for Southeast Asia. So first of all, the good news. The good news is, you want to pick this up right from Hemisha's slides, the good news is the basic online environment is already familiar to most of you. You know, Google has by far the big market share. It has 95, 98% market share in all those markets that Hemisha outlined. You know, from Singapore, Thailand, you know, Indonesia, Malaysia, it's all dominated by Google. Also all dominated by Google's company, YouTube. So they watch a lot of video, and most of it is on YouTube. Otherwise, another familiar face is obviously Facebook, which is the leading social media platform in most of the markets, and they're very reactive, very big on Facebook. The other point, obviously, is that it's mobile first, it's mobile enablement that is so important. The challenges of a Southeast Asian website, well, there's a couple of them. First is the URLs, you know, getting your hands on your top level country domain name is not always easy in Southeast Asia. We'll talk about that as well. The next is the languages, and there are very specific difficulties and challenges with those languages. First of all is surprising, well, it's not surprising, but not that many people, even in larger organizations and large companies, actually speak English in many of those countries. So you're really reliant on having either a local agent helping you, or else a marketing company such as ourselves and working with us for those individual languages. The language barrier can be quite steep in Southeast Asia. Another challenge can be local references. It's really important that these markets have local references, local imagery, local testimonials. That just helps build the trust that is so important for that buyer's journey. And then the other challenge I would say is that this is already a sophisticated marketplace in these Southeast Asian markets. The online environment is already sophisticated. You will probably need some marketing to accompany your websites in order for them to be effective. So the question we're often asked is, why can't I just use my US website? Well, it seems pretty clear that if you're going to go into Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, you're going to need to look at Google in those markets. And guess what? Google Vietnam is in Vietnamese, and it caters to a Vietnamese population. And if you're not hosted locally, then and in Vietnamese and lots of other criteria, Google does not think you're relevant for that market, and therefore you won't show up. You're as good as invisible unless someone knows your actual domain name. Your whatever search engine you want, you'll be invisible in those markets if you do not have what's called a localized website. In other words, a customer-centric website. I just took a screenshot of the top YouTube searches in Thailand, and I thought that would be kind of fun for you. Of the top 20, I recognize one, Roblox. That's it. The rest is not familiar to me at all. So I need to have that localized feeling. So when we talk about going global, we're really talking about going local. So what is a localized website? A localized website, in essence, is relevant to your local buyer. So it's going local. On the right-hand side of the screen, I've got the 10 criteria that we use to say whether to define a localized website. You'll note that language is one criteria out of 10. But domain names, regulatory requirements, the right CMS, hosting optimally, all of those are just as important as the actual language. I'm just going to focus in on 2 or 3 of them that we can just talk about and then bring up to mind. I won't go through all 10 of them, but domain names is a challenge in Southeast Asia. Your top level domain name in the US, that's probably a .com, for example. In the UK, it could be .co.uk. In France, it's .fr. In Canada, it's .ca. Those are your top level country domain names. A lot of those are restricted in Southeast Asia. The Philippines isn't, but most of the other ones are. So they're restricted. So you'll have to have either a local presence, a local subsidiary, or someone buying it for you. Otherwise, you won't be able to get it. But what we would suggest in that case, if you don't have that, we would suggest 2 things. One, do not let your distributor or local agent buy it on your behalf and keep it. It's your domain name. It is one of your most precious assets you can have in the online world. Is that domain name? It's your precious, your most expensive real estate, if you like. So you need to own it. Don't give it to someone else like a distributor. What you can do is a subdomain. So off your US website or Canadian website, do a subdomain. That works just as well on for search engines. So one of the challenges, first of all, is your top level domain, and we would suggest doing subdomains. I will just say as well, something called .asia also exists. We don't recommend it. .asia covers all of Asia. It comes, from Turkey to China, everywhere. So it's just too broad to have a focus on Southeast Asia to be really effective in our experience. Another point that I wanted to highlight really is just characters. The script is so different that it actually changes the way your website can look. So we spend quite a lot of time when we're building websites for these markets, making sure that they look as consistent as possible with their US or their core brand guidelines. So I've taken some screenshots of some websites, and you'll see, for example, the ones on the right-hand side, wide IGS. The boxes underneath are much larger text. We've had to sort of, extend them from squares into rectangles, basically, in order to fit the amount of characters in there. Similarly, the one on the left, the characters are much longer. One is in Vietnamese, one is in Bahi. So, the characters will affect your design a little bit. So you have to be very cognizant of that when you're looking at your website, and making sure your website builder has to be aware of it, and making sure that they're making it as brand consistent as possible. Another point that I wanted to say is just, Hemisha mentioned e-commerce. E-commerce is very strong in Southeast Asia, growing double-digit across. There's a lot of local champions, that we mentioned. I think Hemisha mentioned Lazada, for example, in Thailand. There are others. Even if these are B2C, platforms, but B2B platforms are growing just as much. And I think what's interesting is that in Southeast Asia, they're expecting, a lot of the internet goers, your clients, are expecting your website to have some kind of e-commerce enablement. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have a payment gateway. You could, what we do for many clients is have like an order builder on their websites. And that's a good way of getting together quotes and engaging your clients. I'll talk about that a bit more when I go down into e-commerce. The other thing I wanted to point out is, and I think Hemisha mentioned, is how tech happy most of the Southeast Asians are. It's a very young population. They have grown up now with these smartphones since 2006, and they embrace it with a lot of gusto. They are expecting to see the websites. They're expecting to go onto that website, to look up the company, figure out the company before they buy anything. And if they don't, they feel they don't want to be contacted otherwise. They want to be online first. And I think that's there's people there have really embraced the digital technologies. Let's give you some examples. In Indonesia, 1 in 2 use image recognition on their mobile phones. Over 70% of Singaporeans and Malaysians use their mobile to scan QR codes, mostly for contact tracking. That's about twice the global average, actually. 72% of people in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia research products before buying. And they don't type things into Google. Most use voice search and voice commands. I think 1 in 2, 51% of Indonesians use voice interfaces rather than typing things onto their mobile phone. So this is a society that adopts and loves their tech. And if you can get a techie looking website, even better. So your best practice, sort of summarizing this up, your best practice Southeast Asian websites, what do they look like? In an ideal world, they have a top level country domain name like ID for Indonesia, .com.vn for Vietnam, etc. If not, they have good subdomains. They're definitely mobile first. They're in their local language. They have strong imagery and strong videos. These people watch a lot of videos. They have WhatsApp or Zalo, particularly for Vietnam, for communicating. People, the Malays, the Indonesians, they don't want to telephone you. They want to WhatsApp you. The Thais, they want to WhatsApp you. The Vietnamese, they want to use Zalo, but everyone else wants to WhatsApp you. They don't, and you can get a business account WhatsApp. Social media, definitely. You saw the numbers there from Hemisha. You need to have a social media presence as well. That's how they like to connect with you. And probably you should put some QR codes on them. So your second takeaway, before I pass over to Joelle, your second takeaway really is that your localized website should be your best sales rep. It's how people in Southeast Asia are going to find you and interact with you. It's how they're going to look at you and think, is this a brand that I want to interact with? So it's really the first port of call. I would say as well, it is the strongest tool you can possibly give your local reps and your distributors. It allows you to control your brand and your distributors to get to their side of the job, which is, using that localized website to drive your business. Now, before I pass on to Joelle, I'm going to have another little poll, just to learn, just to see if any of you want to know more about localized websites in Southeast Asia or in other markets. And if you have an interest in that, we can very happily to send you some blogs or some other video links or infographics or whatever. Just let us know. We'll send something on by email or reach out if you want us to reach out directly to. And again, thank you very much for being so responsive on that. You're great at ticking the boxes there. We appreciate it. So if you want to have some, as I said, some emails or some blogs or information, or want us to call you, let us know and we will get in touch. Right. Thank you very much. Close that and let's pass on to Joelle. Joelle, talk to us a bit about online marketing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Susanna, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Really glad to be joining Susanna and Hemisha today. Perfect. I know that we've covered a lot, and I know that we also have a great session about e-commerce after this. So I just wanted to share some highlights about online marketing, how important this is in the Southeast Asian market. So, really before we dive into a few examples and a few key elements from my point of view, I really just wanted to start from the top and just remind ourselves that online marketing really is the best way, a great way to bring brand awareness and really build up the leads that you need to convert to sales. So whether you are B2C, B2B, B2G, your buyer's journey, that life cycle really isn't that different from them becoming aware, consideration, and then, looking at different options. And then eventually when you've built that trust and that recognition, getting to that, closing the deal, so to speak. So I just want everyone to remember that online marketing really is just about creating what we call digital events. So whether it is a blog post, a social media post, an advertising interaction, an interaction with your website, all of that helps drive your users or your purchasers through the buyer's journey. Southeast Asia is known for being, very proud of the heritage and really valuing local personal connections and personal relationships. So whether you have a business presence on the ground, you've developed a network of distributors, or maybe you're looking to expand or create even that network, the key is to think about people. You want to reach the right people with the right message at the right time, redirecting them to your local representatives. So I've talked a lot about the people, so let's start from it. Who are we talking about? Who is our person here? We often talk about buyer persona. So just as a definition, a buyer persona is really your ideal customer, is that, representation of who would be based, who would be your ideal customers. This could be based on real data, it could be based on the idea that you have. But what's important here is to really start thinking about and identifying that your international buyer persona can and probably should be different from your domestic persona. And here I've just highlighted a few slides that, on these slides, a few ideas of what you can start thinking about. For example, is my Southeast Asian buyer persona different, but in what ways? Do I have multiple buyer personas? So you might be looking at a potential distributors versus your existing customers versus a potential customers as 3 different buyer personas. But also, how do they find me? What platforms are they on? What platforms do they use? In what ways their journey differs? So all of that is going to help you identify how to find them, what they care about, and that all goes down to that reaching the right people with the right message. So I've provided here just some quick examples of L'Oreal. We're all familiar, really, really big global brand, but they're very frequently cited for how spot on they are with their international marketing. So here we see L'Oreal USA. We have a group of women collaborating on the top floor of a sky-high building, empowered, in charge, diverse. If we go to L'Oreal Thailand, for example, Here, they really wanted to showcase someone that would identify with the buyer persona in that specific market, or how Thai women would love to see themselves strong, modern, forward-thinking individuals. But then if we go to Vietnam, then it'll give you a completely different vibe. Here you have, what more the Vietnamese customer would be looking like is more diverse, but also maybe more subtle, more collaborative, again, really highlighting the cityscapes, but yet, still in charge and very much, strong personalities, but in very different ways. And all I'm trying to highlight here is that L'Oreal is very careful to ensure that, the messaging is respectful of the differences that the buyer persona would expect to see, how people would identify themselves and how they want to see when they're purchasing for a specific brand. So just a quick example to show you how you can easily do this through imagery alone, and then everything else that follows in terms of the messaging. But I know that there are different, elements of a marketing strategy, but I think Hemisha has given us some pretty good compelling reason of why social media is a key strategy piece in Southeast Asia. And very much when considering how best to build your marketing strategy, helping you guide your prospects, but as I mentioned, why not your existing customers and your potential, business partners through the buyer's journey in Southeast Asia, you really cannot ignore the power of social media. Social media can be, yes, used to increase brand awareness, really maximizing the time your persona spend online. And from what I hear, in some of the markets, you have as much as 9 hours a day to capture their attention. So a lot to play with there, a lot more than in other markets. But I also think they can be a critical tool to support your distributors and really redirect that buying ready that prospective customer to them. So this is a type of lead generation. So whether you got leads on your website and then you share them with your local rep, or whether you want to redirect the buyers to the brick and mortar shop, or whether you have a page, and we'll see some example later. Social media is an incredibly powerful channel to build trust, get people to engage with your brand, really guiding them through that consideration, giving them the information they need to evaluate your service, your products, your brand, and then eventually generate some very tangible ROI. So very much social media, lead generation, return on investment. I just wanted to provide here, this is specific to B2B because I know that some of you in the B2B will look at social media and be like, wow, it's not really for me. We've tried some Facebook here in the US and it doesn't work. That's not necessarily the case internationally. I would argue that's not the case domestically as well, but that is a separate conversation and we have dedicated sessions for that. But especially thinking about Southeast Asia here, I just wanted to show you how a social media strategy is very often used in tandem with other marketing efforts to effectively build the brand awareness and connect with your audiences, even in the B2B space. So here I just thought this chart is quite interesting because it shares the percentage of B2B decision makers who use social media when researching products or services. And here, interestingly, you'll see YouTube and Facebook leading the chart, which is two of the elements that I know Hemisha has mentioned. So very much social media is allowing us to, in a way, social media and other online tools to level the playing field. You now have the opportunity to capture your buyers' attention where they're engaging. If they're on Facebook, you can be on Facebook. If they're on YouTube researching a brand or finding a solution for the problem, then you should be and you could be on YouTube as well. So very much a very, very great opportunity to connect with your audiences, build brand awareness, and then eventually, generate more sales and build your return on advertising spend or your return on investment altogether. However, it's all fun when we talk about social media, but as per every marketing channel, social media does require a structured approach, really to ensure that you're always, reaching the right people with that right message at the right time, as we mentioned in the beginning. So when your objective is to really maximize your return on investment, we know that sometimes resources are tight, especially if you're just entering a new market. Then really here is the moment to think strategically, really understand what you want to do and what content you need to create. So when deciding what content to create, for example, if your objective is to, for example, leverage an upcoming trade show or leverage a new ebook for the region that you just released, or even as simple as promote a product that you know really does solve a problem in a specific industry in that country, then get to social media, get some nice imagery, and really just make sure that you are consistent with your branding, consistent with your message. And here I just wanted to show you 2 examples of a consideration or decision stage post. And here, this is campaigns that we're running for client of ours where we are inviting users who have engaged with our Facebook page in this case. We know they've been on the website before, so the localized website for the specific market. And here what we're doing, we're inviting them to go and get in touch with the local distributor. So again, building that bridge between having built that trust, getting them excited about your brand, and then helping them on what's next. Do you want them to get in touch on the website? Do you want them to go and visit the shop? This is a great opportunity, whatever the ask, whatever the product, having already built that trust and that brand, really now it's time to offer that clear call to action to the next step. And all of that feeds in very nicely to what Susanna has been talking about. That's the ever so important localized website. Once you build that trust, you want to make sure that they come back to a very clear page on your website, on your local website, ensuring that they know that they're talking to someone local. Again, that personal relationship with that trust building is very important in Southeast Asia. And here again, very clear call to action throughout your marketing process, demonstrating your company's credibility within the industry with great content on the website. And then the opportunity to direct them to your local distributor. And again, some examples here, whether you're collecting leads because you need more information to be able to provide a quote, or whether you have several shops or several representative or distributors, dealers that you can redirect your users to. Let them choose, let them take action, but provide them the information to do that. And that's just going to close the loop from reaching them, getting them excited, and they'll be able to generate that lead or generate that sale, all through some social media marketing efforts that ties in very nicely with the website that you've just localized and launched on a domain, on a localized domain as Susanna recommended. Before I just hand over to Susanna again, there were a couple of things that I really could not mention. We saw that YouTube is one of the top social media, would call it, search engine is a very nice hybrid. So when we talk about Southeast Asia, we can really not avoid talking about video. So marketing today, it really is about providing the most personalized customer experience. And that's really where marketing trends are headed in 2023 and beyond. Personalization is key. So videos really are a great way to achieve this. And according to a recent study about a few months ago from Forbes, 90% of customers, and this is across B2B and B2C, actually do use videos to help them with the buying decisions, whether they are looking for them or whether they serve them on social media. 90% would rely on video or would say they've watched a video before making a decision on a new brand. A couple of examples of why videos are a no-brainer for marketing strategy. They're easy to share. So anyone within your sales team, an engaged client, your distributors, once again, you know, it's so important in this market. Everyone can help spread the message. Everyone can help reshare a video, whether it lives on your website, on social media, on YouTube. Just use the video and get everyone to share. It has a lot better engagement than the written word and even imagery. So a 30-second video that you can see here above on the slide will have a bigger impact than a 20-page white paper. And that impact eventually translates to engagement. If you can get someone excited about your brand, your product, your service, that will lead them to the website, will lead them to the great content you've spent so much time creating, and then again, moving them down that buyer's journey that we saw at the beginning. Another couple of things, again, long-term brand awareness. Consumers would expect to see videos, and the more they see video, in a way, repetition is key. You really be able to showcase your brand. But also, you can use videos on multiple language sites. And again, we talk about a big and very diverse market. I think Hemisha shared something around 1,000 languages are used across Southeast Asia, 11 countries. I'm not saying that we're going to translate it into all 11, but something that a lot of even our clients don't realize is how important it is to leverage your videos that maybe you already have domestically, internationally. So you have a fantastic video, translate it, put some subtitles, use the voiceover, whatever you can that really is relevant for your market that you're trying to reach, and then reuse it. If it's a 2-minute video, take snippets throughout, leverage what you already have. You don't need a big video crew to create some exciting videos to use through your social media strategy for your international markets. Last but not least, and I'm going to have to end on a little drier note, which is business objective. Before I hand back to Susanna to look at e-commerce trends and best practices, I really want to very quickly emphasize what I think is a crucial piece of every marketing effort, and more important so when we talk about social media, which is ensuring you align your social strategy to your business objectives. We unfortunately see this too often, as I mentioned earlier, companies trying on social media, trying to post the same content across 5 different platforms for 60 days and then just giving up altogether because it didn't work. We didn't get the leads or we didn't get the engagement. Before you really start committing to social media or any other marketing efforts for that matter, really is important to make sure that you know what you're trying to achieve. You know how you're going to be tracking that, and you know what success will look like in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Here is just some examples to show you. This is from one social media platform. This is from Facebook. And here again, one platform you can already see based on what your objective is, how many different ways you have to track success and what the key metrics and your KPIs should be. So I don't want to go into too much detail here, but I just really wanted to highlight the fact that before you start, really sit down with your sales team, your product development, your distributors, and have make sure that you're trying to, whether you want to grow brand awareness, whether we're trying to drive leads, just improve customer retention by being more present, make sure you know what you're trying to track, and that will show success. Just try, repeat, track it, and then I can promise you that something good is going to come out of it. Susanna, sorry, that was my I think I've run through this a little quick, but I know that we have a lot to cover and conscious of everyone's time. So if there are any questions, please do keep them coming. We're getting quite a few in, so we might not be able to answer them all today.
Thank you very much, Joelle. Indeed, we'll save the questions for afterwards. But again, just a quick poll to ask if any of you want more information on Southeast Asian marketing or marketing in general. Let us know. Again, we can direct you towards some resources, blogs and so on about the different online marketing options and strategies you have. So whether that's looking at Southeast Asia or other markets, please feel free to just drop us a quick line. And again, thank you all so much for voting so promptly with those ticks and boxes in the poll. Great. I'm going to close this poll and then just talk briefly a little bit about hold on there. Where did I close the poll? There. My mouse was not working. Now it's working. Just to sort of round up with a very brief sort of overview of e-commerce. And we have, I think, said a couple of times how e-commerce is really very strong in Southeast Asia. In most sort of the more mature markets, for example, the USA or the UK or Canada, e-commerce after the pandemic actually sort of really slowed down and is sort of stuttering along in single-digit numbers in terms of growth rates. Southeast Asia is all growing at sort of 15% more or less across the board. And as I mentioned, it's not just B2C, it is very much driven by the B2B. The B2B side of e-commerce is roughly 3 times the size of B2C. One of the pleasures of e-commerce is by its very nature, it allows you to reach international markets. It quickly goes beyond your local border, and you're able to then have an e-commerce platform that goes into different countries. There's so many different ways of plugins nowadays. It's easy to go across borders in e-commerce. So I would really recommend that you do take a look at this as a potential strategy. Remember that we can also do things like, without a payment gateway or without the final one. So you're basically building what's called an order builder. you're basically building up a basket load, and then asking and then your customers asking for that price or for advice. And that's typically the way that a lot of our B2B clients are going. The joys of other joys of e-commerce besides its natural international focus is that you could have visible, quantifiable return on investment. So, and you could actually see it, measure it, look at it, alter it, and so on. So there's increasing demand from both B2B and B2B markets and clients for this, and Southeast Asia is very much at the forefront of that. As hopefully you can see from this graph, this is another one of these graphs with lots of numbers on them. The white bar is worldwide. The yellow stripe there, by the way, is the USA. So this is percentage of people on the internet who make weekly purchases. And you can see that about 57% of people in the USA shop online at least once a week. But all those blue arrows to the left of that is Southeast Asia. Thailand is the #1 in the world, just ahead of South Korea. But Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam are all well above the US or the world average. Excuse me. So just sort of highlighting how very important e-commerce is in these markets. And Southeast Asians, as we've said, they love their tech. They go onto a website. They're like, come on, where's the basket? I want to somehow interact with this website. I want to either buy or get a price or have some understanding of the price of them. So again, worth really thinking about for your Southeast Asian markets. Couple of examples on that. What is relevant? Again, this notion of going local, and there's nothing, nowhere is it stronger than in the e-commerce world. Going global means going local, and everything that's relevant to your local buyer. So local pricing, local tax, the payment methods, and if that's too complicated at the moment, take the payment gateway away, just make an order builder. All the shipping and order fulfillment, those are important. And then returns, what I do here. There's a lot of third-party integrations and compliance and regulations. So those are the absolute, the must-haves, if you like, for them. And when we're going through an e-commerce process, I have to say it's quite a well-trodden path. It really goes into 5 big buckets that you can divide the e-commerce sort of development into, and where you are in that process as an exporter. And that goes from what are the specifications needed to the design, the development of it, and the e-commerce enablement and go live. So a lot goes into that, and I would really, we have other webinars dedicated only to e-commerce. If you have an interest, let us know, and we can circle back with more detail on it. But I'm also conscious of time, and I wanted to sort of just say, the latest trends, takeaways, and your questions for that. So, latest trends. I really think it's important to say that the Southeast Asian markets are sophisticated online markets. They've grown up fast. They've adopted the technology very quickly, and they have driven it forward. In many ways, that mobile first market is in some ways actually more pushing forward than some of the more mature markets, for example, the US market. Southeast Asian markets are very early adopters to technology. They absolutely love their technology. Many of them are already looking at Meta and sort of the Meta world. Not in Southeast Asia, but in Korea, for example, the latest K-pop is a girl band, and they're totally on the Meta. So that's interesting as well, and they're totally AI generated on the Meta. So really interesting. And AI is really flourishing across Southeast Asia and booming. It's being adopted very, very quickly. Just a shout out, by the way, we are having a webinar coming up very soon about AI and how it integrates, how you can integrate AI into your website and into your marketing. But those are some of the latest trends. It's a very young audience, very plugged in, and they are used to working online. and they expect you to be online and have a full online experience. They don't particularly want to talk to a salesman, not in the beginning anyway. They want to look at your brand, figure you out online, and then WhatsApp you. So your first takeaway then is Southeast Asia is very much online. Make sure that your websites, your online marketing is working as hard as it can for you in those markets if you're targeting those markets. Your second takeaway is that your website can act as a springboard for your sales and should be then be considered like your best sales rep. It's certainly the strongest tool you can give to your local rep for that. And again, just a reminder, sort of, what is a localized website? There's those 10 criteria that I gave you. A localized website, in essence, means that it's relevant to your local buyer. Your third takeaway, really from Joelle, explained very well from Joelle, online marketing are the digital events that drive the buyer's journey along the buyer's path from awareness to purchase. And that, think of it as getting the message when the prospective buyer wants it, so he's picking things up when they want it. So it's not intrusive at all. It's the right time, right message, right person. So that's definitely message number 3. And to leverage this in Southeast Asia, it's so important. We saw the numbers there shared by Hemisha. They are all on social media for a couple of hours a day. They react very strongly in a very strong response rate in social media. So use that. We wanted to highlight that there's a ton of stuff on our website for you to download for free, from blogs to other webinars to all kinds of things. Anything online is any questions you've got about the online world, Southeast Asia or otherwise, try our website and see if that resources are there for you. And then finally, also a little reminder, we do have these online global programs. If you have an interest, let us know. We'd be happy to circle back and talk to you more about that. Now I'm going to dive straight into questions. And I think one of the very first ones I'm going to have, which is coming actually, there's 2 variations of it. I'm going to put them together. Hemisha, this one's for you. For videos, should I get them translated and dubbed? And then someone else is saying that's also, translating and dubbing videos is very expensive. Do you have any solutions? Hemisha, what do you think about videos? Should they be dubbed? Should they be translated? It's expensive. What do I do?
It's a very great and a fair question because considering how important videos is, and Joelle shed a light on how YouTube is one of the most used platforms and also why video is king. I would say I'd agree that video translations could get really expensive. I think what we've also do for our clients is we can make use of subtitles. This would work just fine. It would relatively be less expensive. And of course, if you're going to different markets, for example, 11 countries and 1,000 languages, I would say subtitles is your answer. But yeah, that's what I would say about it.
Thanks very much indeed. Yeah, so definitely translate it, but subtitles work too. I guess this one's for you, Joelle. We have dealers throughout Indonesia. What role do you recommend? They have for our online marketing, Joelle, for your dealers?
Absolutely. I think Susanna, very fairly, you mentioned, make sure that you you own your real estate. So own your social media pages, own your website domain, own whatever you're doing, but do get your dealers and your distributors involved. They are face to face with your clients, your customers all the time. They live in the market. They understand the market. They understand how people use it. Seek their advice, seek their advice on content. What are the questions they get asked the most? What are the problems that the customers are having day to day, whether they speak to them over the phone or in the shop? So make sure you own your assets, but at the same time, do get them involved, pass on the leads, get them to act as quickly as possible. In Southeast Asia, we see platforms like Line and WhatsApp become very powerful when you have that connection, because people want to be contacted immediately. They want to speak with someone in the local language, so they can be a really, really big and powerful asset for you. So don't shy away from asking their opinion and getting them involved from the start.
Yeah, thanks, Joelle. There's a couple of questions actually that have come in about sort of hosting and security. I'll take that if that's okay. Clients expressing concern about what about are the websites secure and so on. They're no more nor less secure in Vietnam or Indonesia than any other place in the world. We certainly would use global leaders in hosting and with SSL certificates to make them secure. These, for example, what we use is a company that's one of the global leaders. They have global content delivery networks, so your website is absolutely secure, or as secure as in any other market. Whether you don't have to worry about your security in, say, Vietnam or anything else. It's secure with the global players like that. There's a note also on the on Hemisha's Vietnam slide. You mentioned a platform called Zalo. What is Zalo? Anyone know? Joelle? Otherwise, I'll say. I mean, it's basically a WhatsApp competitor. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Susanna, go ahead. I think it's a very clever little story behind it, the name of it, which always makes me smile.
Yeah, there is a funny little story behind it. It started out in Vietnam, Zalo, I think in like 2012 or something. It basically is it's a messaging app, like WhatsApp, communication app. And Zalo stands for, the Z is like zing, it's like a ring of a telephone, zing. And alo is hello. That's how the Vietnamese say hello. It's like hello. So Z, hello, Zalo. And that's how you get the name Zalo. There you go. That's a fun fact for you.
Fun fact for the day.
There's a couple of other questions, but I do know that we promised to get you back to your desks within the hour. So we will reply to those questions separately by email. So just rest for me to thank my colleagues Hemisha and Joelle for presenting today, sharing some of that experience and wisdom that you all have about online marketing, Southeast Asia, websites, and client experiences. And then to thank all of you for attending and being here with us today. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of the week, and see you all online and offline, we hope, soon. Take care. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.